fuck with the Chuck.
Sorry, Chucky. Your time is now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about my 5 picks for movies that disgrace their franchises, and also we're going to be including picks from you in the community. Let's get into it. So yes, movies that disgrace their franchises. A lot of these are in horror franchises, unfortunately, because it's just the easy pick, I suppose. But yeah, there's so many here. I'm probably going to piss off some people. I know that these films all probably have their fans, no doubt. But yeah, let's get into it. Number 5 is Godzilla 1998. That's right, the first American kind of reimagining of the iconic kaiju Japanese franchise Godzilla, or if you want to be technical about this, Gojira, as it's known in Japan. This movie was in the pipework since as far back as 1992, when Stan Winston made miniature maquettes for Godzilla that were more in line with his Japanese roots and Japanese design. But when it actually went into production with TriStar, and yeah, Roland Emmerich infamously wanted nothing to do with Godzilla. He wanted this to be as far apart from the Japanese origins as possible. So as you probably can tell in the movie, he doesn't fight another monster. He's a lizard that eats fish, and he has no atomic breath. There's nothing really there that screams Godzilla in this movie. Now, it has become a disgrace to the franchise. I don't really know anyone that generally likes this movie as a Godzilla film. You could argue that as a monster movie it's fine, but as a Godzilla movie it's pointless. It should not have been called Godzilla, guys. It shouldn't. It should have been called something else, like Giant Lizard Attacks or something dumb like that, because the film is dumb after all. So yeah, this film was such a disaster that Toho put out a film directly after it called Godzilla 2000. It came out in 1999 to basically just be like, that's not Godzilla, this is Godzilla, and show the world how it's fucking done. And then also they ended up buying the rights for that original 98 design to put him in the 2004 Godzilla movie Final Wars, and have the true Godzilla kick its absolute ass within about 3 seconds. He dies immediately. It's great. So yeah, that's why Godzilla 1998 is a disgrace to its franchise. It just is not Godzilla. Number 4 is Critters Attack. Yes, I'm putting the newest addition to the Critters franchise on this list. I did a recent marathon of all the Critters movies, me and Soph did, and we had a great time with most of them. Like, you know, the first one's one of my favourite films of all time. Critters 2 is a great sequel that just like amplifies everything. And then Critters 3 kind of downsizes it due to budget, but it's still quite fun in my opinion. Got a really soft spot for it. My perspective for Critters 4 has changed. I actually really enjoyed my rewatch of that movie, even though it's not as much a Critters film as it is a kind of alien Star Wars wannabe movie, but I digress. But then we get to Critters Attack. Critters Attack just is painful in everything it does. It's like a TV movie. I think it forgets what made the first 2 Critters movies fun and just entertaining as hell. And I don't think it has the spirit of those movies in it at all. I appreciate they went with practical effects, but we didn't go for this hard R that I've been dreaming for years. There's some really just amateurish puppet work in there that just looks like they're gumming your arm. It doesn't look like they're biting you. It looks awful. And some of the directions here were weird. Like they gave us a female Krite, which on paper sounds fine. Cool. That's a cool little open a window to the lore of the Critters. That's great. I like that idea. But she appears, she kills Krites, and nothing is explained. Apparently she's the queen of the species, apparently. But they don't explain anything. Nothing is explained. You've got Dee Wallace, who comes back, who's not the character from the first movie. She's apparently this bounty hunter called Aunt Dee, and she's looking for the queen Krite, because apparently yeah, she's like involved in that somehow. It is utter dog shit. None of the characters you care about them. They're wooden as all fuck. This film does not understand what made the first two Critters movies great. And unfortunately to me, on a rewatch in particular, I didn't think it was that bad on the first watch. On a rewatch in particular, especially after marathoning the first 4 movies, this one really is a disgrace. Number 3 is Alien Resurrection. Yes, I hate this movie. I generally hate this movie. It takes what the original Alien does in terms of it being a terrifying horror movie in space, and tries to also do what Aliens does, where add a bunch of action in there, and does it all wrong. It's like this weird kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of like fun, quippy quips, whippy dialogue, and it doesn't work for an Aliens movie. It doesn't work for an Alien film. It is so barbarically just weird and just totally inconsistent with itself, and doesn't suit the Alien mythos. You get Ellen Ripley, who is now being cloned, so she's come back after 200 years or something stupid. Where they got her DNA, I don't know, but I digress. It's so painful, this movie. I can't stand this film. And then you got the fucking newborn, which is birthed by the Green Alien, because now she's got human DNA in there, and it creates this weird kind of human xenomorph fucking mashup thing. It's fucked, guys. It's so fucked. I always skip this movie on a rewatch. You know, people talk about Alien 3 being just rubbish. I really like Alien 3 for what it does. It's got a lonely tone, it's got a great atmosphere, it's got great set design, it's got great characters, memorable characters. This film does not have any of those. It is fucking dog shit. And yeah, I don't know what they were thinking about this movie. I think it was all for a paycheck. Clearly it must have been, because this film is so bad. I always skip it. I'd rather watch Prometheus. I'd rather watch Alien vs Predator Requiem. That says a lot of things, doesn't it? Yes, it does. And I'd rather watch Covenant as well over this absolute fucking dreck. I told you, Chucky, it's your time next. Number 2 is Seed of Chucky. Can't take this film seriously. I know it's maybe not meant to be taken seriously, but it goes in a wild direction that I just did not want from this franchise. Child's Play 1 is a great, just scary, kind of unique take on the slasher genre, with this doll that comes to life with the spirit of this serial killer. Awesome idea, awesome movie, great. Child's Play 2 just amps it up, gives us, probably in my opinion, the best Chucky we've ever got, the most realised version of Chucky, in my opinion. Number 2 is my favourite of the franchise, it's amazing. Number 3 is a really underrated, kind of like contained military school slasher, which I really think just gets better on a rewatch. I think it's just so underrated, it's so good. And then you get Bride of Chucky, a complete reinvention. It kind of keeps that kind of horror there, but it starts getting satirical about it, which at the right balance in that regard, which I really enjoyed about that. Really cool reboot of the franchise. Excited to see what comes next. Then you get Seed of Chucky. This film is just utterly just fucking dog shit in terms of everything it tries to do. I give it credit. It does kind of almost break new ground with the Glenn Glenda character and that kind of representation there. That's cool to see. That's ballsy for that studio in 2004 to really do something like that. I give it that. But in terms of everything it does, it just does it just terribly. The comedy's not funny. The gags aren't funny. The kills aren't, even though they're quite graphic, they're not really that interesting. The story is just utter dog shit. Nothing's funny about this movie. It is just absolute dreck at the bottom of the barrel, scraping your fork at the bottom of the tin can. Dog shit. That's what this film is, and it is always going to be a disgrace to me. I don't own it. I own most of the Child's Play movies. I don't own Seed of Chucky because I thought, why be obsessed about completing the franchise when there's movies in there you don't like whatsoever and don't plan to watch? That was my reasoning for that, and that's why it's not there, because I never want to watch this movie. It is fucking dreadful, and it is just a disgrace to the Child's Play franchise. But number 1 for me is Star Wars The Last Jedi. I'm finding it difficult to put into words my feelings coming out of the theatre when I saw this for the first time. I was super hyped after seeing The Force Awakens, even though that film isn't perfect and has its issues and it's almost a copycat job of New Hope, but I digress. It still was a competent entertainingly good Star Wars movie with a fairly cool setup for what was to come. Enjoyable, liked it. Really excited to go and see Last Jedi when it came out. Really excited. It looked like it was going to go that dark tone that Empire did. Kind of keep those beats, those darkness, kind of take that dark road into the story. And I came out going like, that film didn't progress anything story-wise, meaningful in any way. There was this weird kind of blockade subplot where they kind of had to like figure out how to get past these fucking blockade things. Weird. The Luke Skywalker just throws a lightsaber over his shoulder to say, yeah, fuck that noise. Like, Luke Skywalker just doesn't seem like the right character to me. They really fucked with his character completely. I understand people who try to say like,
it's meant to be Luke Skywalker, but he's lost all hope, so that's why he's a grumpy old bastard.
Yeah, but that's never been Luke Skywalker. I don't care in what corner you want to write his character to make him like that. That wasn't Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker has always been a character of hope. This just bled all the hope from him, and I think that ruined the character big time. And you see videos where Mark Hamill was warning us for fucking year, you know, for a good year before the film came out in press conferences about, be careful, this film is not what you're going to expect it to be, and it just wasn't. Not that I had expectations per se, but it didn't have anything in there that progressed a story meaningfully. It didn't. It was utter just dog shit. And don't get me fucking started about the subplot in the fucking Casino Planet, because that was the most wasteful middle chunk of a fucking movie. And it went nowhere as well. They've got these moments, these subplots in this movie that end up being a waste of your fucking time watching them. They lead to nothing. And this film is the biggest example of a middle movie being a complete waste of time. And if you go on to Rise of Skywalker, they try to like complete a fucking trilogy and retcon everything that went before each other, course correct. You can't do both at the same time in a trilogy, especially at the end. And it makes the whole trilogy inconsistent when you try to watch it as a 1, 2, 3. It is, Last Jedi just ruined everything about Star Wars. It took my love for Star Wars out of me. I was done after that movie. I was like, I don't care what they do next. I'm not interested. Star Wars is done. Like you know, even Rise of Skywalker didn't really redeem it either, to be honest. But yeah, Last Jedi in my opinion, it made Rey a Mary Sue. It made Luke Skywalker it kind of just fucked his character completely. He became a miserable cunt. There's no narrative progression whatsoever with... by the end of this movie, I had no idea where they were going with the story. I had no idea. And that's a problem. You should know, like, right, this has happened, oh shit, what's the final conflict, whatever's going to happen next. You didn't get this with this one. Well, at least with Empire Strikes Back, for example, they had a similar kind of like, what the fuck's going to happen now? But at least it was a good, what the fuck's going to happen now? Holy shit. Last year I didn't have that. It was just like, okay, it's ended, okay. That didn't do anything. That didn't progress The Force Awakens in any manner. And all the cool little setups from fucking Force Awakens, they just go, oh yeah, screw them in the bin, fuck you. And I think it lost a lot of diehard fans from it as well. But yeah, that's my number one. Yeah, so that's my top 5 of films that I think are disgrace to their franchises. Let's go on to the movies that you picked in the community picks. Let's go. So we're on the community picks. I did a post a few weeks ago about asking people what they would add to my 5 picks, and people commented down below and they've added their own picks. So we have Michael, he has put Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull and Beverly Hills Cop 3 off the top of my head, heinous films. Right, Indiana Jones, the 4th one, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I didn't hate it that as such when it concerns a sequel. I feel like it was a fine Indiana Jones movie. I feel like the ending, the way they wrap up that 3rd act, kind of ruins it, kind of narratively for me. I feel that it was a bad decision all around to go aliens. If you haven't seen it, spoilers, but I don't care. It goes aliens with the ending, which I think was just a really bad decision. It was just like, what the fuck is this shit? Yeah, nowhere near as good as the original 3 movies, in my opinion, but I don't think it's terrible. a disgrace to the franchise? Maybe. I don't know if I feel strongly either way for it to really say if it was a disgrace or not. But that is your pick, Michael, so I appreciate it. I've not seen Beverly Hills Cop 3, so I can't comment on that one. But yeah, thanks for dropping in your suggestions, Michael. Really do appreciate it. Next up, we have Last Chance Ches with his suggestions. He says any of the Tremors movies after the first two and any Sharknado film after the first one. I think I've seen Tremors 1. I love Tremors 1. It's one of my just guilty pleasure kind of 90s, you know, monster movies, creature features. I've seen Tremors 2, but I don't remember it that much, so maybe I need to give it a rewatch. I think I've seen Tremors 3, but is that in the Old West? Or is that Tremors 4? It might be Tremors 4, actually. I can't remember. I've seen maybe some odd ones here and there, like maybe I've seen 1, 2, and 4, perhaps. But, yeah, I remember 4 not being very good, so maybe they are disgraces to their franchises, but they've never intrigued me to really go and delve into that franchise fully. But I love the first one in particular. It's so good. It has the best use of "Fuck You" ever by Kevin Bacon. It's so good. As for Sharknado, I've seen none of them, so I can't comment even on the first one. I can't even comment. I've got a really nice steelbook of the first one, but I can't comment on the films themselves. But the first one was like a mega hit that is so bad it's good, apparently. So I can imagine the sequels being even worse and maybe being not as good, because once you've seen the first one, I suppose they're all kind of the same. But yeah, Last Chance Ches, thank you for your suggestions. Appreciate you commenting and being a part of this video. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Movie Hound, and they pick Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Now, I'm in a mixed mind with this movie, because a disgrace to the franchise seems a bit strong in my opinion. This movie and the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre are so tonally different that they almost feel like, this almost feels like a parody of the first movie in some regard. Like, it's so different, wildly different in tone. But if I did a marathon last summer, back to back, Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, and I just feel like you watch the first one, really great, just really, really good horror movie, and I feel like the franchise declined from the moment number 2 starts all the way down, pretty much until maybe the remake. But yeah, I don't know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, a disgrace to the franchise. I'd say number 3 is probably worse. 3 is just a fucking snore fest where nothing happens and it's boring as fuck. So I don't know, like, there's elements that I do enjoy about Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. I love the gleefulness in its horror, if that makes sense. Like, it's horror, but it's kind of got this gleeful joyfulness to it that is a bit ridiculous. And I kind of enjoyed that about it. I'm not the biggest lover of this film. It is a film that I would rewatch again, that I don't mind rewatching if I watch the first one. I like to watch this one as like a weird kind of double bill. But a disgrace for the franchise, in my opinion, seems a bit strong. I don't think it's that bad. I feel like, you know, number 3 is worse, and the Next Generation is definitely even worse than that. So I think there's definitely films in this franchise that are bigger disgraces to the franchise, in my opinion. I thought the recent Leatherface from like 2017 was fucking dreadful. So I think there's been worse in this franchise than this movie. But anyway, Movie Hound, I appreciate your suggestion. Thank you for being a part of this little discussion. Thank you very much. Next up, we have a suggestion from Conzilla 1954. They say, unpopular take here, but Jaws 3 is an even bigger disgrace than Jaws of Revenge. At least that one was entertaining. I haven't seen Jaws 3. I've not seen any of the Jaws sequels for that matter. So I can't really comment on any of them, especially this one that you've brought to the table, Conzilla. But I've always said that Jaws was a film that should have been a one and done and never got sequels, because it's a masterpiece. It's one of the best films ever made, in my opinion. It's up there. It's in my, you know, at least top 20 films ever. Like, it's that good. Like, I'm baffled by why it became a franchise, because it should just been as a one and done. The shark subgenre is saturated enough, you know, let alone to get multiple Jaws sequels is baffling to me. I can imagine this one being really shit, because it did come out originally as Jaws 3D, and I know that 3D was a bit hokey and weird. back in those days. So I can imagine it being bad. Obviously, like you said, like Jaws of Revenge was entertaining, so this one must be boring as fuck, right? It must be. You're saying that there's no entertainment there, I guess you're saying with this one. I've heard how bad Jaws of Revenge is, so the fact that you prefer that one over this tells you this must be a bit of a just a dull, lifeless dreck. I'm getting these vibes from that comment there. But yeah, anyway, Conzilla, thank you so much for your opinion there. Do appreciate you being a part of this video. Next up, we have Kaz99000. She says, Deep Blue Sea 2 was just awful. I enjoyed the first one. Now again, I've not seen any of these sequels. I really do like the first Deep Blue Sea. I think it's probably my favourite shark film after Jaws. I don't think there's many shark films that I generally love apart from maybe those two. But yeah, I see the box set for this all the time when I go and have a shop around and stuff. I'm always intrigued, should I buy it and check them out? But I never do. So maybe I just won't now. I swear I've heard someone say that Deep Blue Sea 3 is actually better than 2. So maybe it might be like 1's really good, 2's shit, 3's alright. Maybe it's a weird kind of roller coaster ride when it concerns the sequels. But yeah, not seen this one. I don't have any plans to watch it. Definitely probably won't watch it now. You said it's awful. So anyway, Kaz, yeah, thank you so much for your suggestion. And yeah, being a part of this video, thank you very much. And we have the final pick. And this comes from Keith of Euphoria Pictures. He says, I do have an entry, but I don't think you're going to like it. Halloween Ends. Easily one of the worst movies I've seen this year and possibly this decade. Felt like a standalone movie. Has a huge disconnect from the previous 2 movies. Never felt like a concluding chapter. Introducing us to characters that I could not give 2 shits about and never featured in the last 2 movies. Michael Myers only comes in the last 20 minutes, and the standoff between him and Laurie Strode was a complete joke. There are so many other complaints I have, but this comment will go on for far too long. Now, Keith, I definitely appreciate your comment here. I really do appreciate the length of your comment and you going all out with this. You know my opinion on this movie. I think most people that watch the channel probably already know my opinion on this movie. I liked this movie. I enjoyed Halloween Ends for what it was, for what it gave us, for not what it could have been, not what it should have been, but what it was. And I feel like I can definitely agree and understand the complaints here from a lot of the fandom and a lot of people that I was expecting a lot more from this movie. But in my opinion, I didn't like Halloween Kills. This gave me something a bit different and a bit more of a characterization, a bit more character, a bit more of an interesting narrative to follow, and I enjoyed it a lot more for that reason. And should it have been the end to a trilogy? No, I don't think it should have done. Should it have been its own movie? Possibly. It could have been more of a Halloween 3 kind of style movie. I suppose you could go down that route. Could have worked a bit better. Should they have, if they were going to go down this route from the beginning, they should have slowly introduced Corey into the franchise, into the movies, and kind of planted these seeds of where this franchise was going. Well, this trilogy in particular, because I feel that would have made it better. But overall, I thought this was just a fun, entertaining movie with great characters. I really liked the Corey character. I'm not going to hide that. I generally thought he was the best part of the movie for me. I just generally was intrigued of where his story was going. However, I do believe that his conclusion was unsatisfying for him to go all the way into the, for the most of the, for the, good 75% of the film, his story being on him, and he just goes out just randomly. Like there was no payoff for his whole character arc. I felt it was a bit weak. But yeah, Keith, I do appreciate your comment. I really do. I understand your complaints, but I just happen to enjoy this film more than a lot of people, which is weird. But it's just opinions, right? That's how it goes, I suppose, with films and music and all these other subjective forms of media. You're going to be subjective. You're going to just, that's how you feel. And I totally understand your stance on it. And I hope you can understand my stance from it as well. But there you go, guys. That is the video. That is everyone's take on movies that are a disgrace to their franchise. I've told you my 5. Let me know if you've got any more suggestions in the comments. And as always, I'll see you again next time, I suppose. Bye.